Okay. Wow, I've never done this before. This is a little bit weird. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Margulis. I'm chair of the Department of Animal Behavior, Ecology, and Conservation, or ABEC. And I have with me today Dr. Joshua Russell, also a professor in the department, and Megan Miller, a senior undergraduate in the program. So I wanted to put together sort of an abridged presentation. I'm sure you have questions. I know that you all wanted to visit campus. Of course, that can't happen right now. So I want to give you sort of a quick overview, and then you're welcome to ask questions. I think we'll be able to monitor those, and we'll be able to respond, either I or Dr. Russell or Megan. So let me first tell you if my computer works here. Let me just go over some of the things I want to cover today about our program, which is pretty unique. I'm going to talk about the coursework that we offer, internship opportunities, research, field-based learning opportunities, and then other sort of college-wide activities that are really important for our majors. And I just want to add that, you know, if you've done any research on programs, and I'm sure you have, you probably know that ABEC is quite unique. There are around 5 undergraduate programs in the country in animal behavior, but ours is the most diverse and the largest. So let me tell you about coursework. One of the nice things about our program is that we have such a range of different courses that whatever your interest is within the sort of ABEC genre, you will find courses that fit your interests. About a quarter of our students go on to work in the zoo field, about a quarter in the companion animal field, about a quarter in environmental education and conservation education, and then about a quarter in field work, wildlife ecology, things like that. If you come in and you know exactly what you want to do, then you can, for example, choose courses that will guide you along that path. If you know you want to work in a zoo, then you take zoo animal management and zoo animal husbandry and zoo exhibitry. If you know you want to work in conservation education, then you take conservation education, conservation behavior, children and animals. But if you're not sure, you take a little bit of all of those different things until you find the right fit for you, the right suite of courses for what you're interested in. And we do try very hard to get you out of the classroom as much as we can. Now, of course, sometimes you do need to be in the classroom. This semester, of course, we're all in our homes learning virtually, but typically a lot of our classes involve getting out into the field or working directly with animals. So, for example, a class may be as simple as going across the street from campus to Forest Lawn Cemetery and bird watching or looking for invertebrates. Or it may mean taking a road trip to visit zoos around the country. Or it could mean getting on a plane and flying halfway around the world. So we try to incorporate that into a lot of our classes. Some classes do have a formal lab component. Some don't. They may just be set up as a once-a-week 3-hour class, which means you can still, you know, get out and have some real-world experiences. One of our highlights right over here is typically, again, not this semester, but typically in the spring, our animal learning class trains kittens, and it's a very popular activity on campus, kittens on campus. So there are a lot of ways to get that sort of hands-on experience. Another really important thing that we don't require, but we really encourage our students to do is internships. You can do up to 2 internships for credit during your time at Canisius, and the soonest you can do them is the summer after your sophomore year. Sometimes students will intern in the summer someplace close to home, but then register for it in the fall. Sometimes students will just pick up and go somewhere completely different for their internships. Here's one of our current seniors who interned at, I think it was the Alaska Sea Life Center. Here's another recent graduate who interned at a dolphin facility in the Florida Keys.
Dr. Margulis,
Yes.
just real quick, are you sharing your screen? Because we can't see your screen right now as far as the PowerPoint.
Oh, that's a problem. Let me back up then.
Yep, so just there at the bottom, the green that says share screen, if you click that, it should open up a window that will allow it.
Let me see that. I don't have that option now.
Down
I
at the bottom.
Yeah, let me, oh, share?
Yep.
No, that's not it. That's, because I'm in, oh, wait, hang on. I'm looking for share.
Yeah, so it should, if you just hover your mouse under
Oh,
the
yeah. Sorry
bottom
about
of the
that.
screen. Yep. There we go.
Sorry about that.
All right, we're in business.
All right. Shall I try that again?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Just to, some of these slides we don't need to reiterate, but I'm going to highlight our coursework, internships, faculty research, field learning opportunities, and other college-wide activities for our students. And as I mentioned, let me see if I can move this out of the way. There we go. You can select courses that really will tailor your education to your specific interests. Again, if you're interested in a zoo career, you would take the courses that guide you in that direction: zoo animal management, zoo animal husbandry, animal enrichment. If you're interested in companion animals, you take shelter behavior, assessing animals, animal learning, and so on. Or you select whatever courses you want to give you a more broader background and to help you figure out what you want to do. And again, I already talked about this, but I'll just reiterate that we do try to get you out of the classroom as much as possible. For example, it may be going across the street to Forest Lawn Cemetery and bird watching, or it may be going to Colorado to watch elk during the rut. It may be a trip to visit zoos. We usually do a 5 zoos in 4 days road trip for our zoo exhibitry class. Or it may be going further afield, and I'll talk a little bit more about those travel classes in a little bit. And I think this is where I was when I discovered that you weren't actually seeing my screen, but we do encourage everyone to do internships, and you can do up to 2 for credit. Locally, the places we usually put students are the SPCA serving Erie County, the Buffalo Zoo, the Aquarium of Niagara, the Buffalo Museum of Science, and we've added a few other local places as well. So if you do it during the academic year, it's part of your course load. It's not like you're interning in addition to a full course load. But many students decide to do their internships in the summer when they have the flexibility to maybe travel somewhere that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So we've had students intern at zoos all over the country. We've had students intern abroad in Madagascar, in South Africa. We've had students intern at animal shelters and parks near their homes as well. So it's another opportunity to get some really valuable experience and potentially be home in the summer if that's easier for you. Again, we don't require internships, but we do really encourage them, and many of our students will do 2 internships during their time here, and they count as electives in the program as well. I want to highlight our faculty because I think that's one of our strengths. We have an amazing group of faculty here in the department, and we're all involved in research. And just to introduce you to everybody, and just very briefly tell you about what we do, I am a primatologist, and I do most of my work at the Buffalo Zoo, studying the gorillas. But I also have a lot of spin-off projects. I have projects going on penguins at the aquarium. So Megan is working on a study on rhinos at the Buffalo Zoo. So we do a lot of different things. Once students are trained, they can go out to the zoo on their own. It's walking distance from campus and collect behavioral data. I also have an endocrine lab on campus, and we can collect fecal samples from zoos around the country and look at stress hormones and reproductive hormones. It's a little stinky, but also really fun. Because we don't have graduate students on campus, it means that all of our research is done with undergraduates. Dr. Hoffman specializes in the relationship between dogs and humans. She's got some great podcasts and videos about the way, for example, the current COVID pandemic is influencing the way people and their dogs interact. If you have dogs at home, you know your dogs are wildly thrilled that you are now home all the time, but that could be a problem for them when you return to a sort of a more normal life. Dr. Malini Suchak studies animal cognition, and she works primarily on cats. So she studies social behavior in a solitary species. Most of her work is done with the SPCA serving Erie County. I'll let Dr. Russell tell you about what he does. Doesn't make any sense for me to do that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Russell. My background is in environmental education and environmental studies. So I'm really interested in children's relationships with animals. So we do work where we interview children, or we may go and observe children in a preschool classroom at the Buffalo Zoo, for example, or other places where we can watch children interacting with animals in different ways. But most of the research that I do is based on interviews and coding and analyzing interviews. And so I have undergraduates who have come with me to attend interviews, and I have undergraduates who work on interview coding through some different software programs that we use.
Thank you. And then Dr. Workman, Professor Workman is also an expert in companion animals. She kind of studies animals in society. Some of her students are working on factors that influence adoption choices at animal shelters, pet loss, and also rabbit adoption. So that's part of what she looks at. Dr. Foster is our sort of conservation and wildlife ecologist. She primarily studies reptiles and amphibians and conservation issues surrounding them in the local area and also abroad. But she's also got a lot of work that involves using camera traps to monitor larger wildlife like deer and moose and things like that. So her research students will be out in the field. And then we have a new faculty member starting in the fall, Dr. Jennifer Snexer, who studies endangered pupfish in the southwestern United States. So we expect her to do some really exciting field work as well. I also want to point out two professors in the biology department, Dr. Costanzo and Dr. O'Brien, who are ecologists, and oftentimes ABEC students do research with them as well. So there are a lot of opportunities. We all have anywhere from like 3 to 15 students on our research teams at any time. So for students who want to get involved in research and have the time, there's plenty of opportunity for that. And if you're interested eventually in graduate school, that research experience is incredibly important. We also take our students to conferences regularly. Again, not this year, but in a typical year, we will each of us take anywhere from just a couple to maybe 5 or 6 students to conferences. Usually on campus, in fact, it would have been last week, we have an event called Ignatian Scholarship Day where students present their research on campus, and the ABEC department is usually very well represented. So these pictures over here are presentations during Ignatian Scholarship Day. And then the conference that I usually go to is the Animal Behavior Society Conference. We have many of our students who are graduates and are now in graduate school, or in some cases are professors, who continue to go to that meeting as well. And this was a picture from last year's ABS meeting in Chicago. And these are all current students and alumni of our program. And I think Megan is back there. I'm back there, Dr. Suchak is there, and quite a few current students and graduates of our program as well. And then I know Dr. Russell took several students to the AERA meeting in New York City. Again, it's a great opportunity for our students to get their names out there. to meet potential advisors for graduate school, potential employers. So we think it's extremely important for us to do that with our students. And we do have within the department some limited funding to support students traveling to conferences. One of the things that usually gets students really excited about our program are the field courses that we offer. Again, this year, things are a little different, but typically we have anywhere from 3 to 5 courses a year that involve real travel. And some of those are more local, like zoo exhibitry may go to Chicago or Ohio or Washington, D.C. But at least 3 of our courses involve travel outside of the United States. I do a course every summer, not this summer, unfortunately, called Wildlife Ecology and Conservation in Africa. And I know Megan was supposed to be the teaching assistant for that course this year. But typically, we go to a field site in South Africa, spend 3 weeks, learn basic field techniques on monitoring wildlife. We work with students in the area. We get a sense of what field work is like because we're pretty remote. We have to shop for food for 10 people for 10 days, which is an incredible amount of food if you were to try to think about that. We go to Kruger National Park for 3 days, so it's all around an amazing experience. Last year, I went to Kenya for the first time for that class, and it was a very different kind of trip. Megan was one of the students on that trip. The focus was on community-based conservation. So we were literally camping in the desert in Kenya, which was quite an amazing experience. Again, I can let Dr. Russell tell you a little bit about political ecology.
Yeah, so every other year I take a group of students to Costa Rica, usually in August, and as part of that trip we learn about the ways in which conservation policies and conservation programs throughout Costa Rica impact different kinds of people and communities of people. So we spend some time in the capital of San Jose, learning about the history of cultures in Costa Rica, some of the natural history of Costa Rica and what makes it such a biodiverse place and such a culturally diverse place. And then we spend about a week living at a field station in a really remote part of Costa Rica and living with some families there and learning about different conservation programs and some eco-tourist types of programs that they are starting to develop in order to improve the natural habitats around them, but also to draw in people so that they have better economic opportunities. And then we go to the coast and we learn from a couple indigenous communities and spend some time along the coast going to different kinds of protected areas and learning how different protected areas in Costa Rica have different policies for people and for animals. So yeah, that's a 2-week trip.
And both of those trips take place in the summer, and then you register for the class the following fall. Dr. Foster does a trip to Belize, a tropical ecology trip that either takes place in January between semesters or over spring break, and you register for that in the spring. And that involves a lot of field work, a lot of field techniques in various places throughout Belize. Dr. Foster now has a sort of a camera trap grid set up there, so she's collecting data there as well. We expect that Dr. Snexer will bring on a trip that's probably southwestern US, sort of desert ecology, but we're not totally sure about that yet, or the timing of that. But this is what we plan. Now, of course, the trips are limited in terms of the number of students who can go. Most of them are anywhere from 6 to 10 students. Students have to apply for a spot in the trips, not zoo exhibitry. That one, 40 people can go and it's no problem. So these are opportunities to really get out there. Most students who apply for a trip are able to go on at least one during their time at Canisius. Again, no guarantees, but typically most students will have that opportunity. We do, there of course is a cost to these trips, but given what you get, they're really very reasonably priced. I should add, I sometimes do a spring break trip to Europe, a zoos and art museums trip with an art history professor. We were supposed to go to Germany this year, and of course that was canceled as well, but I anticipate continuing to do that at least some of the time. And then I just want to highlight a few programs on campus that tend to be really attractive to ABEC students. We are involved in a sustainability initiative on campus, and one of the first tangible pieces of that is a community garden that we established just about 2 blocks from the Health Science Building where we are located. We've begun working with different community groups and local schools to make this garden a real something with great value to the community. We're in our early phases right now. I don't know if you want to add anything, Dr. Russell, since you were able to get a grant to help us move this forward this year.
Yeah, we received a grant last year that will help us to hire somebody who can be a community coordinator part-time during the summer months. Unfortunately, this summer we're having some challenges, as everyone else is, in thinking about how we're going to get community participation. We're hoping the garden will still be up and running, at least for some people locally.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of our students show interest in the garden and get involved. And it's the first step in a broader sustainability initiative on campus to really make the campus as sustainable and as green as possible. There are other activities on campus, other clubs that students are involved in. Probably the main ones that really serve ABEC students are the Canisius Zoological Society and Project Conservation. And Meg, I don't know if you want to say anything about CZS. You were on the e-board for that this year, weren't you?
Sure, yeah, I guess I was. Yeah, so CZS is a club that I think the general idea of it changes as the presidents change, but this year we tried to get people more in tune to natural spaces and green spaces in Buffalo and Western New York. So we tried to get some trips out to Tift Nature Preserve. Every year we try to put on a trip to Presque Isle State Park in Erie, PA, and we really just try to get people out of the classroom and into some green space.
Thank you. Yeah, and we try to make the trips as accessible as possible. So like Meg said, they're some fairly local, or it might mean, you know, maybe a couple hours in a van. We did a bio blitz this year, which was great fun. And sometimes CZS does service projects, maybe making enrichment for the zoo or the City of Buffalo Animal Shelter. Project Conservation is another campus club that is involved a lot in sort of sustainability activities on campus. So that's something else that we do. We'll sometimes have speakers and events. So it's a really valuable opportunity for students as well.
In the fall, some faculty also did the muck race, which is a 24-hour birding competition. So faculty and students, maybe 3 of us, faculty, myself included, and then maybe 5 students did a 24-hour overnight birding competition with people from all around New York State.
And the students won the collegiate division, right?
They did, yeah.
They were the only entry though, right?
Well, you don't have to say that.
But they also beat the faculty.
They did beat the faculty by, I think, 2 birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one really common question is, you know, what can I do with an ABEC degree? And I just want to highlight some of the careers that are open to students with a degree in ABEC. As I mentioned, you know, a good number of our students go on to work in the zoo field as keepers, educators, things like that, working in animal shelters or in companion animal care or animal training. We do have students who've gone into laboratory animal care, And although a lot of students don't really think that that's something that they want to do, animals in laboratories deserve the best possible care that they can get, and who better to provide that than someone with a degree in ABEC. We have students who go into wildlife and conservation education, ecotourism, animal advocacy, including going to law school, conservation and field work. And then of course, some students will go on to graduate school and academia. Some students who double major in biology may go to vet school, and students may work for nonprofit organizations in the conservation realm as well. And I love this picture. This is one of our graduates who works at the SPCA, and she is wrangling a bald eagle that I think hit a power line and was being rehabilitated in their wildlife department. So you never know what you're going to be doing or experiencing. And then these are just some examples of some of our students and what they are doing now or did shortly after graduation. We really do try to keep track of what our students are doing. We have a number of students working at zoos and marine animal parks throughout the country. We have students involved who have done field work in Africa, a number of graduate students. We have students who are animal care officers at universities who work in animal training and evaluation at animal shelters, just a real diversity of experiences. And we always love to hear what our students are going to be doing when they graduate, so we're very excited about that. And I'm going to just put Megan on the spot for a second and ask her to tell everybody what she's going to be doing as long as things open up just a little bit.
Yeah, so I will be traveling to Cambodia in the fall. As of right now, that's still a go, but I will be conducting 10 months of fieldwork on gibbon populations and working with some indigenous communities in the region, working on community-based conservation efforts.
So our students do really cool and amazing things, and there's nothing I love more than hearing about all of our students' amazing accomplishments. So we're a pretty fun-loving group. Our favorite holiday in ABEC is Halloween, as you can see from these pictures. We're probably the only group where we actually had two of us design the same costume without knowing it. I would ask you to kind of, make a guess as to what you think we are, and then I'll let you know if you're right. But we're a very collegial group, and we really love working with our students. We take advising very seriously. We will meet with you 2-3 times a semester, more if you need it, and help you chart a path that will help you get where you want to go. This semester, of course, is a little different. This is just a screenshot of one of our department meetings now via Zoom, but we're still meeting on a regular basis and communicating with one another, and we all miss being together, just like as I'm sure you miss being in school as well. So we really do work very hard for our students, and we don't know what the fall will bring, but whether we are in the same room or not in the same room, I can guarantee you that we're going to work very hard to provide the best possible education. Oh, sorry about that. Best possible educational experience that we can for all of you. And if you do have questions, I think hopefully there's some questions that can come in via the chat, but you're free to email me, or if you call the ABEC department, I'll be monitoring that phone. I've got plenty of time, so I'm happy to chat. I've done some one-on-one Zoom meetings with 4 or 5 prospective students over the last few weeks, so I'd be most happy to chat with any of you. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Dr. Margulies. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat. One chat that we did have come in for the Halloween costume, was it a jellyfish?
Yes, it was. And
Very
in
good.
fact, Dr. Suchak and I decided we had to find a way to make it a little bit different So let's see, she was a moon jelly and I was a sea nettle. Very subtle differences in the costume.
Very nice. So yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them out right now. But I think you covered a lot of the questions that people have there in the presentation. But feel free to ask some questions right now, and then obviously reaching out to Dr. Margulies. One thing, just I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but my name is Jack Knights. I'm an undergraduate admissions counselor at Canisius. But I also just wanted to put out there to everybody to reach out to your admissions counselors as well right now. As you sort of start to make your final decision for the seniors, juniors, as you sort of start your college journey, maybe even some sophomores out there, feel free to reach out to your admissions counselors. We're here to help you and to really help make this process a little bit easier on you, just because it's not something that you do anyway. So one of the questions that we have, can you send the recording so we can view this again? Yep, we are going to be posting this recording on the accepted students page. If you go on there, and that has all of the resources that you sort of have available to you as far as coming in as a freshman. Next question. If we don't do our first year at Canisius, can we still transfer there the second year? How hard is it to transfer in as an animal behavior major?
That's a great question. We actually get a lot of transfer students, probably 10 to 20 every year. Oftentimes they transfer in as juniors, but you can transfer in at any stage. It's quite simple to do. We don't recommend that you necessarily try to take, say, biology somewhere else, because biology is different at every school. So if you take biology at a local university, it may not be the same as our freshman biology. So, but you would probably get a lot of the sort of core courses done, you know, freshman English. If you can take something like an intro to philosophy or an intro to religious studies, that helps. Statistics is one thing that we often recommend, that if you're trying to get a class in that will count towards the major, that's a really good one to take and get out of the way, because you would have to take that here otherwise. So, you know, typically a typical student takes 30 credits a year. So if you transfer in as a sophomore with 30 credits, it's no problem at all to finish in 3 years.
Great. Question, is animal behavior program at Canisius part of a psychology degree? Do you see double majors in psychology with animal behavior?
Right. So animal behavior is its own program and its own department. The most common double majors that we see, probably ABEC and biology is the most common double major. ABEC and environmental studies, that's what Megan is. ABEC and psychology. And then, you know, a smattering of other things, ABEC and digital media arts. I mean, we've had, you know, ABEC and French. So there's a lot of possibilities out there, and double majoring, depending on what the majors are, is also not that difficult to do.
What are some of the common ones that you see as a double major?
Well, you know, I just went over some of them. Again, biology is the most common. I think environmental studies, environmental science, we tend to get 1 or 2 a year as well, and psychology. We do have some students who, if they're interested in, say, working in animal shelters or for, say, as in the National Park Service, they might choose to double major in criminal justice to get some of that background. We have a growing number of students who double major in digital media arts, which helps with, say, graphic design for organizations, for their websites and things like that.
Great. So somebody asked about their financial situation, and it would be hard for them to pay for trips. Does the ABEC department provide any assistance with that?
So for the last few years, we have offered one scholarship a year that covers half the cost of a trip. That's really about the best we can do. We don't have any internal money for that. When we raise money from donors, that's what we use it for, to cover half the cost of a trip. and to help fund students going to conferences. Now, that being said, I know that the last thing you want to hear is, oh, just take out more loans, but you can actually tack that on to your student loans. Again, I know nobody wants to do that, but I think in the grand scheme of things, anyone who's done a trip would say it was worth it. When I made my first trip to Africa a really long time ago, it was after I had graduated college, I literally spent every penny that I had and never for 1 second regretted that choice.
Awesome. So talking about sort of the different experiences that you talk about, the different trips and everything, are there certain courses that are attached to those trips?
Yes, so all of those trips are considered a course, so they're credit bearing. My course and Dr. Russell's course are 3-credit classes. So for both of those trips, you do the travel in the summer, and then during the fall, we do different things. So for my trips, it's either if you collected data, you may be writing up a research paper. We may be discussing articles that are relevant to our experience. Or this past year, we did podcasts about our experiences. Some of the courses are considered sort of standalone 1-credit courses where the whole course takes place during the trip. So Dr. Foster's Belize trip is 1 credit. Everything happens during that week of travel. Zoo exhibitry, we meet a few times during the academic year, but pretty much all of it takes place during the zoo visits. Dr. Russell, I don't know if you want to add anything about Costa Rica.
Yeah, it runs the same as the Africa trip in that it runs in the summer, but we have regular course meetings throughout the fall. During the fall, this past year, our students actually, as part of their final project, created podcasts. That's something that we've been doing in several of our different classes, is having students actually contribute something back to the wider world by sharing what they learned that way.
And I can share the link for, so we started a podcast series called Canisius Conservation Conversations. Most of them are still in progress because when we went into this virtual mode, the students who were editing those podcasts were no longer able to do that, but we have some that are posted. So I can certainly send that link to Jack and he can share that.
Absolutely. So this one's just sort of a Canisius in general question. I can answer it. They heard that it's required to take a religion class. So yes, so we are a Jesuit Catholic school. The requirement for religion at Canisius is you take 1 religion class. You take 2 religion classes. The first religion class you take your freshman year. It's a Religion 101. You sort of just learn about all the different religions of the world. Gives you a really good worldview, I think. And then you take 1 upper level religion class as well. So 2 religion classes are required. Being proud of our Jesuit identity. Just listening to this, to Dr. Margulies talking with the community garden, I think that's a pretty Jesuit type of experience right there, as far as the mantra of being a man and woman for and with others. So just sort of helping out the community and things like that. So there are 2 religion classes you take, but I always tell people you'll see those undertones of the Jesuit philosophy in any classes that you take, and obviously as we saw here in the animal behavior department.
One of the things I love about Canisius students is that they care about the world. They don't just care about themselves. And I think that's part of that Jesuit idea. They want to make the world a better place. And I think that's so important.
Absolutely. So talking about double majors again, students in the past that have double majored, in this person's asking about animal behavior and psychology, continuing in different fields. You see that those students will usually continue in the animal behavior field, the psychology field. What's sort of your experiences there?
I think it varies. I've had a number of students who did that double major who then went on in social work. And some of that may have involved like animal assisted therapy, that sort of thing. Animal behavior as a discipline, if you were looking at graduate programs, could be in psychology departments, biology departments, zoology departments. So having a psych background is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, animal learning, cognition often finds itself living in a psychology department, whereas behavioral ecology may be more in a biology department. So the double major doesn't hurt at all, and it opens up some paths that might not otherwise be open.
Great. Could you talk a little bit about the connection between animal behavior as a major and then going on to vet school, what students have done to take that sort of path through the animal behavior department?
Okay, I want to be clear that ABEC is not a pre-vet major. If you look at what you need to take for vet school, you need 2 years of chemistry and a year of physics, and you need calculus, and we don't require any of those things. Most ABEC majors are really happy that we don't require those things, but if you're going to vet school, you need those things. ABEC is a really nice double major. Some of our electives are in the biology department, so you could double major in ABEC and biology and take pretty much all of your ABEC electives as biology classes. I think amongst the courses that probably prepare you best for vet school, animal welfare, animal ethics, and then our basic intro animal behavior classes are really valuable. Probably, zoo animal husbandry, animal learning, they're all relevant to vet school.
Awesome. This question is about, does the ABEC department keep or manage any animal collections on campus?
We do not. Dr. Foster has a snake that is usually living in her office. I expect Dr. Snexer will have some fish on campus, but we don't maintain any animals on campus. Some of the biology faculty have invertebrates, fruit flies, mosquitoes, sea anemones, but mostly if we're working with animals, it's either at the zoo or the aquarium or in the field.
All right, great. So that's all the questions that we have right now. But I want to thank everybody for attending today and learning a little bit about animal behavior. And thanks to Dr. Margulies, Dr. Russell, and Megan for joining us as well. But also in the chat there, you can see Dr. Russell's email address, and then Megan has also offered her email address. If you have any questions that you want to talk to a current student about her experiences, sounds like she had some really great experiences in her undergraduate career, but feel free to take down those emails and reach out to them. Animal behavior department's one of the best departments to work with as far as admissions goes with working with prospective students. So big thank you to them there. But thanks everybody for attending. And do you guys have anything else on Dr. Margulies, Dr. Russell, Megan?
I would just say we really hope to see many of you here, and hopefully see you here in the fall. We don't know what's heading our way, but we're going to do whatever we can to make sure we can deliver the best possible experience that we are able.
I think I would also add that one of the benefits of our department is that many of us teach in our graduate program, which is a hybrid online program. And so our department is already really familiar with how to teach in different creative ways online in case the fall semester starts online. That is something that we've been able to do really successfully through our graduate program and this semester even in our undergraduate program. So that's something that I think may help make people feel a little bit more comfortable if they come and their first semester is going to be at least partly online. Even
though I forgot to share my screen at first.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
Everybody's learning here. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you here in the fall. But reach out to your admissions counselors, reach out to these professors, to Megan. Just get as much information as you can. But thank you so much for everybody for attending.
Thank you for being here,
Thanks,
everybody.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.